Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this special edition of Today's with Youth that we're dedicating to the follow-up on the latest developments of the Egyptair MS-804 plane crash. We would first like to express our condolences to the families of the martyrs in Egypt and around the world, as there were several nationalities on the plane. And we're glad to be joined today by Yara Al-Bridi and Hussein Mekki. Yara is a student at the Faculty of Mass Communication, and Hussein, a student at the Faculty of Economics and Political Science. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Before going into the details of the plane crash, I would just like to know your opinion as regards to the reaction of the international community and the world media to the incident.
First of all, we would really like to send our condolences to the families of the martyrs of the plane, passengers of the plane. We would like to say there was an international and a very important highlighting to the event by the international news agencies on spot. They didn't take time to cover the incident itself, and that showed us how important the event was, how the accident was really heartbreaking, as all there were international passengers from all over the world. It really broke our hearts, and we really didn't find enough words to describe how we feel about this incident itself. And the international coverage shows how important this accident was and how it affected all of us, not just the national Egyptians.
Right, Hussein, how do you see the reaction of the international community and the world media to the incident?
First of all, I would like to agree with my friend that we are sending our condolences to the, I don't want to say victims or martyrs because we're not sure of what happened exactly yet, but I'll just send my condolences to their families, and let's hope we get to know the real truth very soon. I agree with her in the point that all the international media were actually focusing on the issue. Like, even the governments, we can see that there were presidents, like the president, Francois Hollande, he focused on the issue very much and he made a speech. The Greek government did the same thing, and the international media throughout social media, Facebook and websites, and even the media itself were covering everything from the beginning of the event until maybe now. Like, even now they're sending like breaking news of every single update.
Right. How do you see the performance of the Egyptian government and Egyptair regarding the crash crisis management?
We find it surprising. There was no time rumors started spreading, and they were trying to follow up with the rumors and try. So they had a very hard mission to prove what's right, and at the same time to find what's right. So and to make people know that they are taking steps. So it was really a hard mission. I think it's not 100% sure that they made what they have to do, but they were trying their best to be able to cope with the event and how quick it was following up and how quick it was growing up. Till now, we are still observing how the events will go, because still we didn't find if there are bodies of the lost. We can't say that they are dead. Maybe they are alive, but we don't know yet. So let's see what will happen. I have hope. I have a little bit hope that there would be alive people on the plane crash.
But how?
Maybe I don't know. They didn't find all the parts.
They didn't find.
Yeah,
okay,
and they didn't find. Maybe they're lost. Maybe they arrived somewhere on any shore.
We never know. Or something.
We did. Yeah, maybe we don't.
Especially that they found like the debris that they found near Greece and Egypt. They are very close actually to the to shore or to land. So maybe we have to stick to hope, even if it's 0.1%.
Right,
so.
right, we have to stick to hope. In your opinion, what would be a short and long-term plan to deal with such crisis?
Okay. For short-term plans, I think there are two clear options in front of us. The first one is to actually start an open-scale aerial missions to search all over the region of the plane itself where it possibly have crashed, or its route itself from France to Egypt. This is the first option. The second option, we can actually check for the black box. because, or actually this somehow belongs to the first option, because this is the thing that would hopefully get us to know anything related to the truth or get us closer to this. Sadly, we don't have the, this is what I read, we don't have the mechanism to find this very fast, but we can at the same time try, because trying is better than doing nothing. And for the long-term plans, I think, I don't know if this is feasible or not, but we can do something related to checking the black boxes in general in the future by placing some sort of telecommunication piece or something that transmits automatically once it's deactivated from the plane. So people can check the location or the exact location of the black box. Another thing, this is the final point, it's related to the short-term plans. We should actually check with the French airport, like the surveillance cameras. We have to check who were near the perimeter of the plane, who were actually inside the plane, like doing the maintenance. Maybe we could find any percentage of not information or something that we don't know.
Yes, Yara, what do you think should be done locally and internationally?
Okay, so locally we have to keep on checking our airplanes. Are they 100% good enough and they have the proper maintenance to not happen, for this event not to be happening again. And for the long term plan for the previous question, I think we should have some sort of recording issues or any sort of recording or knowing where can we, even in such situations, how can we find the loose planes or something. And for internationally, we have to have some sort of arrangement with the international airports so we can know when the plane arrives or when the plane takes off from there or from the international airports, how they can arrive safely without happening this, because it disappeared. We don't know where did it disappear. Till now, to the moment, we don't know how did it disappear. And so we should maybe have some technological development on this level.
Right. Do you think there's a clear progress in how Egypt Air and the Egyptian government dealt with the crisis?
I see this time it was different than the previous times. At the previous times, maybe the time we took to start dealing with the problem itself was much longer. This was shorter. We dealt much quicker with the problem itself. Maybe we didn't deal 100% properly, but this time it was much less than the previous times in dealing with the problem itself and taking time with dealing with the problem itself. So this maybe is the progress and the development that happened.
Right. Hussein, how do you think that youth could make a difference through support campaigns to national airlines?
Generally, I think we can start making some sort of workshops or campaigns to actually find out where the problems are first. We need to identify what can be improved and what can be developed within those airlines. Personally, I see that I travel almost 2 to 3 times per year, and all of them were Egypt Air. The problem here is not with only Egypt Air, it includes many things. The airlines, the company it traveled from, even the country it landed in. So we have to actually first identify what the problems are, because so far we don't know actually the real cause of the event. So until we know what actually happened, we can then find solutions. But until then, I think we could implement something related to the security issues, because scientifically speaking, what happened so far related to the scientific facts is not actually a technical catastrophic failure or anything related to the weather, because the weather was perfect. So the closest option is a bombing. So we actually have to work on how to improve our security in the country and also help the countries abroad, how can they improve their securities.
So a lot of people ruled out the technical cause of the event, but still we're not sure if it's a bombing, if the plane, because the pilot went like 90 degrees to the right and then 160 degrees to the left, and it seems he was trying, do you think he was trying to avoid something?
I'm pretty sure of this, because I don't think it's a technical issue, as Hussein said, because at the maintenance part that happened in the French airport, they have been mentioning that there was nothing wrong with the airplane. Everything was perfect. The weather, such as Hussein said, was perfect. So I think there was a sort of catastrophe that the pilot was trying to save the airplane.
To avoid, right? He went to the extreme right and then to the extreme left.
The problem is that we are not sure.
In a moment.
Yeah, the problem is that we are not sure of anything, and this makes the problem much bigger or more complicated. We can't find solutions for problems that we don't know. We don't know even the reasons, so that we can start to find to find solutions. So it's somehow complicated.
Right. How did you first know about the incident? Was it through the social media?
Yeah, I woke up on the info, from the social media, and then I started watching the press conference.
Right. Do you think that social media has become the first and most important means of quick reporting and news?
It is actually, because for me, when I woke up, the first thing I got to know the news from was actually the social media. Right now on the internet, we have a lot of sources of information, like most of the major news agencies post their news online before the TV itself. So the social media became a very, very important fact in knowing every single piece of news. And we actually get, as youth, we get to know our information mainly from the internet before the television. Like I got to know about the information, then I went to check on the television.
Right, but how can we verify the news that we get from the social media?
From the sources itself. There are different sources. There are verified sources and normal sources, where you can say if they say the right news or the wrong news. So you should double check from the source you have your info from, such as the verified news agencies. They all have accounts on the social media, whether Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. They have different types of media platforms that they can deliver the news to us from. We have to check for the source we get our info from, because rumors really spread in minutes or in seconds, we can say. Just by a click of share, you can share a news that's totally wrong, that can cause really a disaster.
Right, so we have to verify the news that we're getting through the social media.
Yeah, we have to double check from where are we getting our news.
Right. Do you think that such incidences are targeting our international relations?
Pretty much, because there's something, it's kind of weird, but every country that is close to Egypt, the catastrophe has to happen from this country.
Right. Our relationship with Italy was perfect. Then we suddenly found the regime issue.
Yep.
And our relationship with Russia was perfect. And then suddenly a plane crash, a Russian plane crash.
Yep.
And now it's France.
Yeah, exactly. But so the problem here is how the international community itself, even the governments internationally, are dealing with this. When it happened before, like example for Russia, Egypt was to get like extremely blamed for what happened. There was a lot of international problems regarding Egypt. Now what is happening is the extreme opposite. We don't know true facts, but nothing is actually happening. No one is actually starting to say, okay, I have a piece of information, I can solve this. There is a problem with my airport, probably, that maybe security issue that led to this to happen. People, I personally believe, as a political science student, there are some hidden facts. This is for sure. There are some hidden problems or issues that a lot of people would know, like internally within the governments, that we don't know, whether internationally or locally. So I think there is something that is affecting our international relations.
As political science students, and of course you're studying economics, do you think Egypt is subjected to some sort of undeclared economic sanctions, that whenever we're trying to overcome our economic issues, something hit the economy, another incidents hit the tourism? What's your opinion on this?
I kind of agree with you, because currently what's happening in Egypt, we are trying to overcome our economic issues. We have a lot of economic problems, and the economy is going to a bad turn at some points. And what is currently happening is kind of like someone is trying to kill you, and you're trying to get up, but he keeps shooting you. So you're trying to get up, but it's very hard.
Whenever we're trying to establish our economy, establishing new projects and big projects, we find something coming out of the blues hitting the economy.
Exactly. So it's always the economy is a target, of course.
Yes, and it's always threatened.
Right. How do you think about the economic situation in Egypt, and how do you think this incident would affect the economy and specifically tourism, of course?
Me personally, I don't think that it will affect that much. Okay, we have a buzz each time we have a news about a plane crash or an accident that happens. We think that there will be so much problems coming after it, but surprisingly, that doesn't happen as much as we think, because we care so much about the situation, because we know it's how much critical now that our economy is having many problems. But we are going on through projects that we really are really great and are really having like stable steps, and I don't think that it would affect our economy that much as we think. For the tourism itself, there are many if the people don't trust Egypt Air, there are many other airlines that they can come visit Egypt through it, and I'm sure that people won't stop their trust in Egypt Air. It's just an incident that could happen to any other airline. And as just me and Hussein were discussing in the morning, there is another plane crash that from a Spanish airplane that happened.
We're all the time hearing about plane crashes in different
this
countries.
is not the first
in Malaysia,
time.
we've seen the plane that disappeared. That no one knows about it up to now.
Till this moment. So it's not the first incident of a plane crash. We know it's very hard. We know it's unacceptable. We know this is not normal to be happening. However, this happens. It happens sometimes. Accidents happen. Train accidents, plane crashes. Whatever, this happens a lot.
Right. Investigations have started and a committee has been formed, including French and British investigators, of course, and Egyptian, headed by Egypt. Who are the parties, do you think, that should be included in these investigations?
I think, first of all, the main two parties are the Egyptian party and the French party, as they have to be aligning where the problem came from. Is the problem, and for sure the Greek party, as they found the plane crashes on that island, on that Greek island. The three of them should align together to find where the problem came from and the reasons and the consequences that happened after the plane crash. Are there still, as we mentioned before, are there any alive bodies, or even the bodies of the dead people? Where can we find it for their families to find back?
If we can find them.
And the reasons of this plane crash, if it's not technical, then what it was. We have to know this very soon for even the families to understand the situation.
Right. Till the black boxes come out, we need to rush into we don't want to rush into conclusions. Though a lot of analysts ruled out the technical cause, then if it turns out to be a terrorist act, then how do you think world leaders should cooperate to fight terrorism that is spreading rapidly around the world?
I think people should realize that neither Egypt nor the Middle East nor the Muslim community is the source of terrorism. Terrorism, its main target is fear. It targets the fear of the people. It doesn't target American people, it doesn't target Europeans, it doesn't target Arab. It targets people for the sake of making them afraid. It wants to make them afraid of the Middle East countries. At some points, maybe the threat would come from Europe, for example. They would say that people should be afraid of Europe. They do not target a specific mindset. For now, the main threat for the world, because of terrorism, is the Middle East and the Muslim community. The world should realize, and I know a lot of people from all over the world, they know that this is not the main source of terrorism, and they already spread that to their governments and to their friends and to their people. So I think we should spread that terrorism has no religion, it has no country, it targets fear, and fear is what it feeds on. That's it.
Right. The war on terrorism is still going on, but are we fighting a group of terrorists? Or we're fighting intelligence agencies or big superpowers?
I'm not really sure of this, but we know that Egypt is always threatened by international threatening problems that we really don't understand where their sources. And as Hussein mentioned, terrorism has no religion, has no nationality. They just target to make the people frightened of nothing, of just not being safe. The feeling of not being safe is the problem that terrorism works on. I don't know, but Egypt has a really, really big role in the Middle East and all over the world. So maybe we might be fighting an international maybe problem that is facing Egypt, but I know that we are strong enough to face this. I know that the people of Egypt themselves are supporting their country. This problem won't affect the Egyptian community or the international community. Everything will be okay and fine very soon, but it needs, all the people need now is reasons, and as we mentioned, we don't want to rush into conclusions. We want clear and fine reasons and solutions for the problem for now. And then we can find a clear conclusion that we can build steps, future steps according to it.
Mm-hmm. Right. As a media student, how do you think the Egyptian media should be performing during this stage?
Okay, so first of all, I didn't like the media coverage for the instant on-spot coverage of the event itself. At the moment, the international news agencies were covering the event. The Egyptian national TV was covering the yoga advantages, and this was something unacceptable. We must work on developing the instant reaction of the Egyptian television. There should be, we should take care more, instead of just writing that there is a breaking news about the plane crash, we should take maybe further step, even if we're just covering from the international. It's not a problem to cover from the international, to copy from international news agencies such as Reuters or Sky News. It's fine. But we have to let the people calm down, and this is the most important, as it's our main problem, not the international problem. So the Egyptian media coverage should be the first source from the people, for the people to get the news from, not the international news agencies. And this we must be working on to achieve the 100% quality of media performance that we need from the Egyptian government and from the Egyptian news agencies.
Right, Hussein, how do you see the performance of the local media?
I agree with her to some extent, but at the same time, for example, we realized at the beginning of the event, me as a person, personally, when I was checking the news, I saw that the Egyptian media itself, which is the country or the source country for the problem, was broadcasting its news from different agencies, that some of them are actually belonging to European countries. And we were, as she said, we're just making titles, breaking news, something is happening. But at the same time, the next day, when the military started their searches, all the media all over the world started to take the news from Egypt. So this could be a sign to the Egyptian media that if we actually work fast, if we integrate ourselves, like integrate the military with the media, with the government, all of them have a solid communicated pieces of news to the Egyptians, and we have to show them that we really care. People, for example, the families of the passengers, they were really furious. They were people who are crying. They're extremely sad about what's happening. We shouldn't just tell them breaking news, the plane is lost. We have to show them our sympathy. We have to show them our support. We have to at least show them that we care about what's happening. So what happened, starting from the second and the third day of the incident, was actually really good. We started actually focusing on the issue and focusing where can we find solutions to calm people. But the first day was, for me personally, was disappointing. I was hoping that when I opened the television, I would find something, as a person, I'm a media person, I never watch TV. But this is one of the few times I open TV to wait for news.
You're always on the social media.
Exactly.
You get your news from the social media.
Yep. Wow. And I was actually waiting for news from, this is one of the few times I was actually opening the TV, I'm waiting for something to happen this time. And I don't watch a lot of press conferences, but this was one of the few times I was extremely disappointed when I saw the press conference, because it's not related only to the media, the lack of communication between different agencies within the country. We found that Egypt Air acted, this is the perfect scenario for me, when Egypt Air acted extremely professional regarding the issue, but it was saying something, and the government was saying something, and the military said something third, and they were contradicting each other, even on the social media. When I was checking on Facebook, Egypt Air's page was saying something, and then the military page says this is not true, 1, 2, 3 is happening. So we need first to act fast towards the issue, and second thing, we need to integrate the government with the military, with the company itself, to solve issues fast, to have, as they say, a closed meeting with all of them together to act with, or to show one combined speech or one combined announcement, not like I get piece of news from here and piece of news from there, and they're all contradicting.
And all the contradictions that Hussein mentioned too were not calming the issue down at all. It was just raising it up and making the people more frightened about the issue. Okay, is the plane lost, or is it kidnapped, or where did the passengers go? Are they alive? Did they even die? We don't know anything. That just made contradictions and made the questions raise up more.
But this depends upon the amount of information coming in at the first moment.
The rumors too. The rumors too. Contradictions surely make rumors, and this was the problem that we were facing. Okay, what should I trust? What's right? What's wrong? This was our main problem. Okay, should I trust Egypt Air's page? Because it's, for me, I was just checking Egypt Air for all the declarations that they were making, and I was the first till the seventh one. They didn't know yet where the plane is, but they were calming the people down. And I think this is the perfect scenario that happened, and they were very professional in dealing with the problem. And they're very professional. We find Egypt Air very professional from the past incident that happened when the plane was kidnapped. They're really professional at dealing with all the crises that happen. For me, the government, as Hussein mentioned, was not dealing that perfect with the problem. But till now, they are trying to handle it, and it was almost handled.
What do you think should be the role of the youth in such incidences?
The youth should help in calming the people down by not spreading the rumors. We all Egyptian people, by their nature, they love talking and gossiping about the issues, and everyone needs likes to show his opinion, and this is not so right. As youth, as aware youth, we should know the right sources from where we get our news, and then we start spreading the right news that we really find correct, and then we should stop speaking when we can't find anything to talk about. We don't need to start telling our opinions, and everybody starting to analyze the issue from his own point of view. We have to really stop. Then we find facts and then talk about it and discuss the facts. Other than that, we should really stop talking, and because this is what really makes the people more furious and more frightened. When we have something solid to talk about, we need to talk about it. Until then, we shouldn't talk about anything.
Right, Hussein, what would you tell the youth on such an occasion, regarding such an issue from your place here? What message would you like to deliver to the youth?
First of all, I would like to tell them, I know there is a lot of people disappointed with the country. I'm personally disappointed with a lot of things that is happening with the country. But the only thing, or one of the main things that makes us actually feel that we actually want to keep on moving, is our belonging to the country. We can disagree with what's happening, or we can agree with it. It doesn't matter. But what matters is what we're doing. We should act with what we truly feel, and we should act for the best of the country. We are not working about individuals of the country, me as a youth, or my family, or my future kids. We're talking about the whole nation. So we should feel belonging to the country. Personally, and I would like to add something. It's not just the youth that have to actually deal with something like this. It's the whole country, starting from its youth to the government to the elders. Everyone should start integrating with one another. We shouldn't say that the youth have the major role, or the government has the major role, or the families. The government has a role, and it has to do it. The youth have a role, and they have to do it. All of them have to do what they should do. This is my main message to the youth: keep on holding on to the country, and at the same time to the government, please care for the youth, because the youth are doing nothing, but everything they do right now is out of care for the country. So I hope we should actually focus on the youth. They are the future of the country. A lot of them are really desperate. I'm speaking from not just a personal perspective, I'm speaking from around the youth who I know. They are losing hope, but I know that there is hope, even if it's 1%. We are saying that there is 0.1% of hope in Egypt for the flight to be safe and sound. We have the same amount and even more hope that the country will grow and will develop, but we need the government to focus with us more. They need to implement what we want. We only want the good for the country.
Right, of course, Egypt started its way forward, and nothing will return it back from its this initiative and this start. How do you think the youth should react in such incidences?
As I mentioned before, the youth should keep calm and never raise rumors up until there are facts that we can talk about. For me, I really ask the youth to support the country and the government when they really find something strong, and when they really find good steps. It's not our role only to keep on criticizing the government and their performance. Sometimes they do things wrong. Nobody keeps on doing everything wrong. And as Hussein mentioned, we are furious, but sometimes, yes, we have to clap for what's right. We have to stand for what's right. We have to support what's right. And this is my message to the youth. Please support what's right, what the good steps that the government takes. There are many right steps. There are wrong steps. We can correct it together by your opinions, not just the criticizing and mentioning what's bad about the country. There are many good things. We have to look to the bright side. We have to stick to our hope. We have to keep on trying to make this country better. Together we can do something. If the youth cooperated, we can really have many initiatives that can make this country better.
Right, Hussein, as a student, I would like you to tell me what was the actual reaction of the youth that you've seen?
Regarding the issue itself.
Right.
In the beginning, none of us knew among my friends who study political science and doing master's studies in political science, none of us knew what's actually happening. It was like, is it lost? Even me personally, within 10 minutes, I said the plane is lost, the plane crashed, the plane is saved, the plane is kidnapped. All the 4 of them within 10 minutes because I didn't know what's happening. I hear a rumor from here, so oh my God, it crashed. We didn't know what's happening. We didn't know until maybe 24 hours, and still we didn't know anything yet. All what we knew is that the plane is lost, we lost communication, and we don't know. This is exactly the sentence. What happened, if you ask anyone what happened, we don't know. We are really lost. So.
Right, at this point of time, what are the expected scenarios from your point of view?
Within the past 2 days, this is something that got my interest a lot, so I started reading about it, and I saw the perspectives of the experts. There was an Italian or French expert who said something that the plane itself, there are 3 scenarios for any plane for it to crash. First of all is the weather conditions or natural conditions, which was not even an option in this case. The second option is a catastrophic technical failure, and for this to happen, actually what I read, and I don't know if that's true or not, but I think people agreed on it, if this happens, the plane sends automatic warning to the radar system or to the navigation system at the airports that something is wrong, which didn't take place. And the third thing, they say it's something, as we say, a terrorist attack or a bombing. And for me, it makes sense with all the scenarios that was said. They say that the plane was at 37,000 feet, and suddenly it descended 10,000 feet in weird manners, and it deviated 90 degrees. And then suddenly it disappeared out of the radar. Disappearing out of the radar means that it became from one unit into scattering parts. So this is the closest scenario, the bombing scenario for me, personally for me.
What about you, Yara?
I don't believe in the 3 scenarios. I don't know yet what's happening, so I can't support any of the 3 scenarios. Even the bombing scenario, there was a technical checkup on the airplane before departing from the airport. So even the bombing scenario is not convincing me. So I won't guess anything. I just will wait for the investigations to come up with something that can have a rationale for me. And for this, until then, I'm waiting.
Right, Yara Al-Bridi and Hussein Mekki, many thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And dear viewers, with this we come to the end of this special edition, and we will be following up on the latest and the most important developments that takes place around the plane crash. Many thanks for joining us. Thank you.